Speaking of proud Americans, we have one right now, and joining us in studio is Eric Trump. Thanks so much for joining us, Eric.
Thank you, Brian.
So first off, one of the big stories is you guys are going to get more involved with the policy side than ever before. Is that something that's changed?
Well, I actually think maybe less with the policy side, but I think, we're going to be by our father's side. We love him. We spend every day with him. He's been an amazing father to us, and we want to win this campaign as a family. And if I can help in a small little way, I'll certainly be there.
He was by your side in Scotland. We saw that.
On Friday.
Yeah, we had it live. What was your reaction to that with Brexit? Because a lot of people are comparing what happened over there to what's happening here.
Well, I think, first of all, as a son, it was an amazing thing, right? Hillary tried to spin it like he was out there playing golf. He was out there supporting me with a project that I was
opening. It just so happened that Brexit came down that day.
No different than I go to every single debate to support him. I mean, that's what families do, and I love him, and he loves me, and that's what we do for each other. But it is amazing. I mean, it was an iconic day, and it's so sad if you look at what President Obama said, right? He said that effectively the UK is going to get back in the back of the line if the vote goes through.
Back of the queue was the word he used.
I mean, how crazy is it that we ostracize our greatest allies? The UK is probably America's greatest ally in the world. We ostracize it. No different than we've done with Israel, no different than we've done with so many other countries. Sure. It is so sad.
And before the vote in Great Britain, Hillary Clinton and the President of the United States, because they're establishment people, they both said, they should stay.
Sure.
Your dad said they should go.
100%.
Because people are sick and tired of the establishment taking away people's freedoms. Over there, over here.
Yeah, my father called it right. I mean, he called it right. And by the way, if you look at the sentiment of that country, and I spent a tremendous amount of time over there for work, but if you look at the sentiment of that country, it's very much the same as the sentiment of the U.S. right now. They want borders. They want security. They want jobs, right? I mean, they want to be safe. I mean, these are the same things that are happening in the United States right now. And the fact that our leaders, right, the fact that our leaders are missing these cues from the people,
right,
and with our greatest allies is astonishing.
And see, that's the message that the establishment, people are sick and tired of being bossed around by faceless bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. And yet the mainstream media spun this. I watched a little of the press over the weekend. Oh, he shows up, this important vote on Brexit, and all he does is talk about your golf course.
It's amazing. I mean, totally unrelated. He was there to support me. He was there for exactly 36 hours.
And he talked about it for about 10 minutes, but then for 45 minutes he talked about Brexit.
And that's how awful our politicians are. Then the ad comes out of him sitting there swinging a golf club. I mean, he didn't touch a golf club in the 36 hours that he was there. As much as he would have loved to if he wasn't doing something like this.
How unbelievable is it that the Democrat would talk about golf when the president has golfed more than anybody is in 400 years?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The president, I mean, every single major tragedy that we've had as a nation during his administration, you know where he's been? He's been on a golf course. It is ironic, Brian.
A lot of people didn't think this was going to be the shakeout of Brexit. Many people thought that they would remain.
The polls.
Yeah, the polls showed that they would remain, which there are some similarities there too, as we can find. But your dad, after the press conference, some reporters were asking you about Hillary Clinton, who did not support it, as you were saying. Take a listen to what your dad said, and we'll talk about it.
She should go on camera. She called Brexit 100% wrong. It's 100% wrong. And she doesn't want to go on camera because she's embarrassed.
She was getting some blowback from other Democrats for saying, if you're a leader, you got to speak.
Sure. She was wrong. I mean, to his statement, she was 100% wrong. Here's somebody who was Secretary of State.
Yeah, but she doesn't want to say that.
Of course. Here's somebody who was Secretary of State, right, who's supposed to be representing the United States interests abroad. She's supposed to have her finger on the pulse of what's going on. And once again, she got it wrong. No different than she got it wrong in Libya, no different than she got it wrong in Syria and Iraq and just about everywhere else that we've gone into. She's always gotten our foreign policy as a country wrong. Right. Well, why did our leaders even need to opine on this issue?
Eric, what was the conversation like on the plane going over there when you got the numbers and you learned that they were going to exit? Was your dad like, oh my gosh, do I talk about the golf course? Do I talk about this?
Well, it was actually amazing. We woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning. We got there, right? So we slept on the flight on the way over. We woke up, and the first thing that we heard, right, we flipped on Twitter. First thing that we saw was that they voted, and for a little while it was actually looking like it was going in the opposite direction. But it was an interesting moment being over the middle of the Atlantic and
what did your dad say?
Listen, I don't think he was surprised. I mean, he was saying this all along. He was saying that there are a lot of themes that we're seeing here that are certainly happening in the UK, and it's sad. I mean, people don't want to get ripped off by other countries anymore. People, want to be in the control of their destiny. They want to be safe, right? They don't want illegal immigration coming into their country. They don't want refugees coming into their country, right? I mean, these are the same topics that we're dealing with in the U.S. right now.
And, so let's take a look at some polls. You can't talk to a Trump and not talking about polls over the last year. So let's talk about the NBC Wall Street Journal poll has
Hillary Clinton with a 5-point lead. You guys have dropped a little bit. That has been pretty much steady. On the other side, the ABC Washington Post poll seems to be an outlier, 51 to 39%.
Right,
What's
and
your view on that?
Well, listen, I think my view is they actually admitted to polling many more Democrats than they did Republicans in that poll. So I mean, it's
36% of
but it's not
Democrats,
surprising. I mean,
24% of Republicans.
it seems like every single time they come out with a poll, these are the exact numbers we get. You know, they always seem to be the outlier, so it really makes you wonder what's actually happening.
And your father tweeted out the dirty poll done by ABC, Washington Post, is a disgrace. Even they admit that many more Democrats were polled, other polls were good. And the most recent Gallup poll shows that in this country, 30% of those across the country, 30% are Democrats, 27% are Republicans. That's 3 points. And yet the Washington Post ABC poll showed a 12-point margin. So it looks like they've got their finger on their thumb on the scale.
Yeah, when it's interesting, we're in battleground states, right? You've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Democrats and independents going over, registering during the primaries, registering as Republican in order to vote for my father, right? I mean, he had 15 million people come out to vote for him in the primaries, which was the largest turnout of Republicans in history during a primary to vote for him. So, I mean, the momentum he has is incredible. I think she totally lacks any momentum. People aren't excited to vote for her, and I think he's going to do very, very well come November.
But any successful leader attacks their weaknesses, and one of their weaknesses is in the black community. For the most part, no matter what poll it is, in the latest, 87% are going to vote for Hillary Clinton. For the Hispanics, 69%. For young people, 53%. You're not going to win unless you do something with those numbers. Is there a plan to attack those numbers?
Yeah, well, yeah, Brian, I think the thing that we almost do best on, and we'll certainly be talking about this a lot over the next 4 months, but those communities are, quite frankly, the communities that were hardest hit by her reckless policies and his reckless policies.
So if you talk about jobs,
You look at minority communities, right? I mean, 58% of inner city youth is unemployed. I mean, that it's just not sustainable.
But Eric, unless you go there and roll up your sleeves and show that you care, that goes a long way.
Oh, believe me, we will. We will. And I also think it's very telling when you want to bring in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees, when you have 57% unemployment in the communities that you already have in this country. That, to me, is a big blunder and something she's going to need to answer for.
hey, if the folks in the control room could bring up the NBC Wall Street Journal poll just once again, when you think about the tens of millions of dollars she's already spent and how the entire mainstream media, for the most part, is on her side, the fact that you guys are 5 points away from her, that's astounding.
It is astounding. It is astounding.
Particularly now.
She has 732 people in her campaign. We have 70. All right? I mean, she spent $250 million, almost $250 million through the primary process, right? We spent less than 50. Who do you want running your country? I mean, it's insane. By the way, we took out 17 people, and she only had to deal with one. And it's less
Eric,
than
I know there
50%.
have been so many different changes within the campaign. How do you plan to get over that? Because the margin of error, you're still losing a little bit when you factor in the margin of error. How do you plan to?
Well, listen, you continue to supplement your teams, and I think we have an amazing team, and we have a lean team, and we have an efficient team, and that's how we want to run. That's how we run a business. That's how we want to run this campaign, and believe me, we're going to win this thing.
Paul Manafort said yesterday, though, that there's going to be big changes this week, and I'm sure you'll always
Big announcement.
but big announcement. Can you give us an idea what that?
I can't, Brian. I can't. But I promise it'll be good.
All right.
I promise it'll be good.
One of the other things on the Sunday shows, they were complaining about, the Trumps, they're not raising money for the Republicans. They're not raising money, period. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, this talks about the dishonesty of the media. In May, we started fundraising on May 28th, all right? June, so you report in June, they say Trump raised $1 million. We started May 28th. Trump raised $1 million, Clinton raises $25 million, or whatever the number was. We're saying, guys, we didn't even start fundraising in May. Last week we had an event in the city. It was a small event, right? We raised $6 million. That same day online, we had $3 million come in, and my father matched another two to that. I mean, money is flying in, people are excited, and it's actually amazing. I mean, a lot of times people talk about small donations, but the amount of small donations that we're getting online is astronomical. And I mean, that just shows kind of what we were talking about before. That shows the just level of enthusiasm out there.
Well, you must be a little jet lagged because you just opened a big golf course out in Turnberry, Scotland, with $1 trillion of free publicity you got from the world press.
It was a beautiful day, right?
Yeah, it all worked out,
Beautiful
right?
lighthouse.
All right, Eric, go to work.
Thank you, Eric.
All right,
Thank you guys.
See ya.